Story 1. I wear sun hoodies, which are thinner and specifically made to protect against the sun. I am fair-skinned and have already had one large precancerous lesion removed, leaving a huge scar on my arm. I know I am at risk, but I would like to delay further damage as long as possible without becoming a recluse. Story 2. I do it when walking and mosquitoes are really bad. Sometimes, I put just the hood over my head and drape the rest. Story 3. 2 reasons. 1. I hate the sun more than I hate the heat. It was chilly in the morning or wherever I am spending some of my time, and I do not want to carry a hoodie on my arm. Story 4. Personally, I can tolerate heat pretty well since I have lived in the deep south all my life. When I put a sweater on, it is usually to get more comfortable or to stop mosquitoes. Story 5. Teenagers now are notorious for this. I was in the mall yesterday and saw a group of teenagers who all had hoodies on. Mind you, it is 90 degrees outside in Atlanta. Story 6. I did this most of my life. Not necessarily in 90-degree weather, but if the sun was shining strongly. I come from a fair-haired family and have always hated putting on sunscreen. Story 7. A mix of gender dysphoria and body dysmorphia. When I am having a bad brain day, hoodies make me feel unseen and covered up. Story 8. My skin is very sensitive to sunlight, and I like the extra pockets. I have a cooling hoodie designed to be worn when it is hot outside. These are also called fishing hoodies because they are popular among fishermen who get a lot of sun exposure on their boats. Story 9. I just asked my daughter. She said she does not feel hot. I am wearing shorts, a tank top, and some slip-ons right now. I still feel hot. Story 10. Because I'm usually on my way to someplace indoors, where it is not 90 degrees and I get cold when the air conditioning is blowing. But if the thermostat were set to a higher temperature, the air would feel too warm and stagnant. Same reason I sleep with the thermostat set to about 67 degrees, then cocoon myself in blankets. Oh, and also hoodies are comfortable. Story 11. I am autistic and have severe anxiety. Even though I am a heat-sensitive autistic person, I am more comfortable in hoodies and refuse to leave the house without one. Story 12. My wife wore one all the time when she was going through chemotherapy. She was often cold, and it was like a wearable security blanket. Story 13. Out on my walk today, I saw a young man wearing a black hoodie, a black baseball cap, and shorts. It is currently 87 degrees here but feels like 92. At least his legs will be cool. Story 14. I have a blood cancer that inhibits circulation and causes me to be constantly cold, so I dress accordingly. Story 15. Social awareness. I have been mocked so much for looking malnourished that unless necessary, I will not take it off. Story 16. It may be 90 degrees outside, but it is freezing inside with air conditioning. I am usually outside only for a short time, getting from my air-conditioned car to another cold environment. The hoodie is needed. The car and house are kept very cold by my husband, who says I can put on more clothing, but he can only take off so much when he is hot. Story 17. It seems like I am allergic to the sun. Anywhere other than my hands that gets direct sunlight for more than a few seconds becomes very itchy. Story 18. I have a coworker from Japan who feels cold when part of the office is in the upper 70s. He is almost always wearing a hoodie because he is used to the weather being 85 to 90 degrees and humid all the time. Even when it gets that hot, he still wears long sleeves and pants. Story 19. Not a hoodie but a fleece jacket, the light Columbia ones. I have anemia and I get cold inside. I am mostly indoors. Most of the time, I go from my cold air-conditioned car to a cold air-conditioned building, so I am not going to bother taking it on and off for the few moments when I am outside in the heat. Story 20. Because often when you say it is hot, I still feel cold, as my temperature regulation system is malfunctioning. Story 21. The only times I have ever done that were when I was very poor and my weight changed, making it so I could only fit in my winter clothes. However, I have seen Asian people in my area wearing these super thin jackets, and I am pretty sure they were made for being in hot sun. Story 22. I was a high body temperature person my whole life until I was diagnosed with cancer. After treatment, I am freezing all the time and regularly wear a hoodie. It is definitely a comfort thing. I had treatment in the middle of winter and always had my hoodie on even indoors. Now I kind of feel naked without one. Story 23. I used to do it because I had always been insecure about my bare arms. Somehow, every ounce of fat accumulates in my arms, so I have a chubby overhang. If I do not want to see that, you cannot either. I do not do that much anymore because I do not care about the judgment of others. That is them projecting and has nothing to do with me. Took me a while to get there, though, when you are raised to care about what everyone else thinks. Story 24. Personally, I do not wear hoodies in 90-degree weather, but I do wear a Levi jacket all year round. People always ask me if I am hot. If I were, I would take off my jacket. Story 25. Keeps the sun off, and when I am working in the yard, since I am allergic to almost all plants, it prevents me from getting hives. Story 26. Southern California. My day starts at 4 a.m. Regardless of the weather forecast, I wear a hoodie. Driving, running errands, meeting people, working inside, no matter what is happening or how the weather is, the hoodie is forgotten and is basically just a shirt to me. Maybe the original poster is thinking of thick, heavy, suffocating, sweat-inducing hoodies. There are many brands, styles, textures, and thicknesses to choose from. It's not like we are wrapped in a parka. Story 27. I see mostly teenagers doing this, and in the winter when it is below zero, they are not wearing a hoodie or any type of thick jacket. It drives me nuts. My 15-year-old tried to do that, and I told her she needs to put on a jacket because it is too cold. If something happened on the way to or from school, she could die because of the extreme cold. At least in the summer, they can take the hoodie off. Story 28. I went to a baseball game in August, and there was a man wearing a hoodie and a wool hat in 90-degree weather. I was genuinely afraid he would have a heart attack or stroke. Story 29. Middle school children often believe they are overweight, even when they are not. I have chaperoned beach trips where children wore hoodies while in the water. Story 30. I pretty much live in sweatpants and hoodies. I rarely spend much time outside, and they are comfortable. No, I am not overweight. In fact, I am quite slim. Story 31. I literally need medical help to recover from some sort of allergic reaction to the sun. I never got tested for it, but it feels like a sunburn without the effects of skin peeling or anything like that. It just itches so much everywhere the sun touches my skin. I need to mention that I use sunscreen to prevent issues, but it is basically worthless for me because if the sun touches the part covered with sunscreen, it still turns red and itches intensely. People call me crazy because I wear hoodies and long pants to cover my legs. No open shoes either. Pretty much everything I can cover needs to be covered. It is hot and uncomfortable, but much better than scratching myself for hours. Story 32. Hiding self-harm scars, hiding insecurity, feeling unwell, just wearing the hoodie because you do not feel like holding it, and many more reasons. Story 33. Comfort. I have a specific hoodie that acts as an emotional safety blanket when I am struggling. Story 34. Gender dysphoria. If not sweating in a hoodie, it will have to be back pain from hunching over in a baggy shirt or rib pain and breathing issues from wearing a binder. This is very difficult. Story 35. I have lymphedema in my left arm and am very afraid of it getting scratched, so I wear long sleeves to cover it up. It is swollen, and I am a bit embarrassed. Lately, I have been trying to get used to not wearing long sleeves because I live in Orlando, and wearing a hoodie outside in the summer is very uncomfortable. Story 36. It's like a security blanket. If they rebooted Peanuts, Linus would definitely wear a hood all the time. Story 37. I used to do it even before I gained weight because of insecurities and comfort. It was like a security blanket and helped with my anxiety in public places. Story 38. It's sleeves. Thin hoodie and sleeves to protect my tattoos from the sun. But I also echo the I'm insecure and overweight sentiment. Story 39. It keeps the sun off my skin, and it is nice when I think back to all the times I was frozen in winter and wished to be warm and comfortable. Story 40. It's my emotional support hoodie. I honestly feel a different kind of warmth with my skin being touched by the sun. The hoodie just feels comfortable to me. I like being really warm. People love asking, "Aren't you warm or hot?" And I say, "Yeah, it's 90 degrees and I'm wearing a hoodie." It seems to bother strangers for some reason. I get asked a lot. Story 41. I live in Arizona, weigh 125 pounds, and almost always wear a hoodie. I just like them. They are comfortable for me. I actually got a talking to at school in 5th grade because they did not like that I wore hoodies all the time. I do not know what to say. I never grew out of it, and I love buying a good hoodie without a zipper. Story 42. To those saying or agreeing it is to protect from the sun. Wearing a sweatshirt when it is hot out just to avoid a sunburn, when you can just wear sunscreen or carry a parasol in most instances, is insane. I am not referring to construction workers. I can understand wearing a white long-sleeve shirt, though. I do not care how many disagree. Story 43. Oh, we just like the heat. We need to have an emergency meeting. The t-shirts are asking too many questions. Story 44. Comfort and safety, mentally speaking. I don't do it as much anymore, but I wore a sweatshirt every day back in high school. Story 45. The fluffy inside is like a wearable blanket that is very comfortable. It does not heat me up much if I leave it unzipped. Story 46. I am always comfortable in a hoodie, feeling warm and unbothered. If I sweat, the moisture is absorbed without my clothes looking like I stepped out of a sauna. Additionally, I do not get sunburned. Story 47. Because I am cold. Not necessarily because it is cold outside, but because every indoor setting tends to have the air conditioning set to extremely low temperatures. Story 48. Also, why are you wearing a wool cap when it is 96 degrees outside? Story 49. People who care about what others are wearing. Why? I moved from a place where the temperature was 120 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit every day to a place that only reached as high as 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I was cold all the time and am still cold all the time. It is 95 degrees inside my home right now, and everyone wants me to install an air conditioning unit, but I am still cool. Story 50. I look awkward in a shirt because my frame is too skinny for a man. Sometimes I wish I had big biceps. I look very goofy without a hoodie or long sleeves. Story 51. One of the women at my gym, which is basically a large garage with doors that we can open, has been wearing Sherpas even since the temperature reached the 90s. I don't know how she manages, but credit to her approach. She is losing weight much faster than I am. Story 52. I'll do it if I'm paddling on a pond with the hood up as sun protection. I'd rather be a little warm than greasy with sunscreen. Story 53. Many East Asians avoid tanning to keep their skin light. Dark skin is often considered undesirable by them. A Chinese friend told me this when I saw many Chinese international students on campus wearing hoodies and coats, even when it was hot outside. Story 54. When I was young, I was overweight and very insecure about my body. I went to college in Florida where I marched in the band. Eventually, you get used to being attractive and it becomes a preference. Story 55. My car does not have a roof, and I get up early, so it is still a little chilly outside. My passenger seat is full of sweaters I have to remove midday. Story 56. I am not one of these people, but certain medications can cause withdrawal symptoms or can affect you in a way that makes you always feel cold, even when you are not under the influence. You often see those individuals covering up more than you would expect. Story 57. Because my office air conditioning always runs extra cold when it is 90 degrees outside, and I forget to take my hoodie off sometimes when I am leaving the building. Story 58. Covering my skin against the sun is more important to me than staying as cool as possible. I can handle some heat, but my skin burns within 10 minutes. Hoodies provide portable shade. Story 59. As a teacher in a mostly urban area, many of my students wear hoodies and cover up in the sun because there is still a lot of stigma attached to darker skin within that community. Story 60. Hoods, hats, and clothing that cover the whole body have been used to protect from the sun for thousands of years. I wear light, long-sleeved clothing with a hood because I have a family history of skin cancer. Story 61. There is a man at my gym who wears a hoodie over another hoodie. The heat and humidity in Texas are no joke. Story 62. I have old cuts on my arms that are very noticeable. What made me insecure about them is that a teacher at school told me to cover them up. Story 63. My office is very cold. I forget to take it off when I leave the office, and I am standing in the Texas heat wearing a sweater. Story 64. A man I used to work with here in Southern California always wore a beanie, even in 70 degrees Fahrenheit weather. He was from Ohio and has returned there. I am happy for him. Story 65. Back in the day when I did it, it was because I was anorexic and cutting myself. I did not want people to see my body. Story 66. I get cold arms easily. My standard summer outfit is a hoodie and shorts. I tuck my legs under the hoodie if they get cold while sitting. Story 67. Most of the people I know who do this are habitual cannabis smokers, and it seems like it makes them perpetually more sensitive to cold and discomfort for some reason. Story 68. Somewhat related question. Why do people wear hoodies in the gym during heavy workouts? Sometimes they are very large individuals. I might not understand because I usually run hot. I am not sure if it is because these people are actually cold or if they are trying to sweat more. Story 69. I have been wearing thin, breathable, hooded fishing or sun shirts more and more. I am going to be hot anyway, so being hot without getting sunburned is better. Story 70. 3 reasons, each independent of the other. 1. Body insecurity. 2. A feeling of overexposure. 3. A loss of self-image. Story 71. I wore long-sleeved hoodies in Florida my entire 6th grade year. I was very skinny and often made fun of for being anorexic. I was very self-conscious. It also helped hide the emotional scars. Story 72. I was insecure about many things, and hoodies and jackets helped with those insecurities. Someone once asked me why I wore them and if it was hot or uncomfortable. Nowadays, it's just too hot. 90 degrees outside no longer feels like 90 degrees where I am. It feels like it's over 100 degrees. I would end up cranky. So if you see me in a hoodie nowadays, it is probably because I work somewhere where the air conditioning is cold. Story 73. I do not do this anymore, but when I was a teenager, I did it because I was depressed and a closeted pansexual transgender woman, which is a valid reason if you ask me. Story 74. I saw a man in Charleston, South Carolina, jogging in the middle of a hot and muggy day wearing a stocking hat or beanie, whatever you call it nowadays. His shirt was off. Maybe he was a wrestler trying to make weight by sweating out all his fluids. Story 75. People who do this. Please wear a short-sleeved shirt underneath the hoodie if you are going to an appointment that involves getting your blood pressure taken or receiving an injection. I cannot stress enough how annoying it is when people try to hike up their hoodie sleeves, and it either does not go high enough or it constricts their arm. Story 76. It's like a security blanket. If I'm in a situation where I'm nervous or uncomfortable, I want my cozy hoodie. Story 77. I'm either sweating heavily outside or freezing inside. At least with a hoodie, one of those problems is no longer an issue. Story 78. I have severe post-traumatic stress disorder, and for some reason the extra fabric or weight helps me. I feel very exposed when I take it off. It is currently supposed to be 97 degrees Fahrenheit today, and I am still wearing one. Story 79. In Phoenix, I see several people every summer walking down the sidewalk in temperatures exceeding 110 degrees, wearing black pants and hoodies. I struggle to think of anything more torturous, and I cannot wrap my head around it. One person I saw last summer I will never forget. I could not tell if it was a man or woman because they were wearing heavy-looking pants, a puffy winter jacket with the fur-lined hood up, and a face mask. They were standing by the side of a busy road in direct 115-degree sunlight, just standing. There was shade close by. Is there such a thing as a cooked alive fetish? Story 80. I used to feel insecure and would do this. The only time I might get caught doing this is if I am coming from work where it is very cold inside the building, and I have just stepped out. Story 81. It is a security concern. I feel no one will notice my body. Mainly, I dislike the underarm fat I have. It is not a lot, but it is an insecurity I have. Story 82. Do you live near open water? In Australia, it is fine to go without a hooded sweatshirt in the cities and inland areas. You would be unwise not to wear one close to the coast. I am not far from Bell's Beach if that helps. Story 83. I use the pocket on the front for tools and parts while I am working. It is very convenient. I am willing to sacrifice for that convenience. Story 84. My very tall tween does this because he is self-conscious. He will not admit it and says it is just his style, but it is completely a security blanket type of behavior. Story 85. I have known a few people over the years who are perpetually cold regardless of the temperature. Story 86. I have mast cell activation syndrome and will get hives or a rash most times if I am in direct sunlight. Cloudy sunny days are usually fine, but if there are no clouds, there is a high chance I will get hives or a rash, so I try to cover up or use umbrellas. Story 87. It may be 90 degrees outside, but it is 50 degrees in every building. I am just walking to my car and have not taken my jacket off yet. Story 88. My son does it because it is a sensory comforting experience not to have air moving around his ears. It is hard to find really lightweight hoodies for him. Story 89. I currently have injuries to both shoulders preventing me from wearing a bra. I am a very top-heavy lady, so t-shirts look inappropriate. I wear hoodies to hide my large, swinging breasts. Story 90. Because I can do whatever I want in this life. Also, I am anemic, which I just recently discovered. I cannot dress for the weather because I would be uncomfortable. Story 91. Sometimes I wear a hoodie because I am going to a restaurant that is very cold. Then my family made other plans, and I am stuck with this hoodie because the t-shirt I have underneath does not look good. Story 92. I wear it to protect myself from wasps. I have an intense fear of them, and I feel better with a hoodie on my head and my arms covered. You can tell I visit the Reddit community dedicated to wasp safety daily. Story 93. Sometimes I like to rip my pen and blow the smoke down my hoodie after holding it to make it slightly less unpleasant. Story 94. I don't understand wearing a hoodie during the summer, but I am on board with wearing a sun shirt, especially if you are outdoors a lot in the summer. Most of the farmers in my area have started wearing either the Columbia Performance fishing gear or equivalent. Keeps you protected from the sun and is much cooler than a cotton shirt. Story 95. Because I am hiding my lip syncing for most of the vocals since I pre-recorded the screams and all the backing tracks. I do not want anyone to know because they are still paying to see me live. Oh wait, that is not me. It is Danny Worsnip. Story 96. Lifetime long sleeve and long pants wearer here. I have a lot of experience with this question. There are many possible factors. The first thing I think of is insecurities. I never showed my arms because as a teenager, I had a problem with self-harm. I am still self-conscious about the scars. Other people I have heard about are insecure about weight, skin conditions, tattoos, and similar reasons. Some people have skin areas that are very sensitive to the sun. I personally find much more heat discomfort from direct sunlight than when I have clothing between my skin and the sun. Where you grow up can be a factor. In many environments, you need protection from bugs, plants, and so on. People used to more extreme climates tend to react differently to weather. Some people just like the way it looks. At a certain point, you just adapt to it and do not notice it. There are probably many more reasons. Regardless, the reason I am sharing this is that for some people, it is for very sensitive reasons. I am open about my past now, but for a solid decade, it would really bring me down that I could not even buy a coffee without a stranger reminding me that I used to hurt myself regularly. And there are plenty of others like me. Just do not worry too much about what other people wear. If it bothers you that much, that is fine, though a little unusual. Just try to remember you could unintentionally upset people and make them feel exposed by bringing it up. No hate to the original poster, and I am sure people will be upset by this comment, but it is something I feel I have to explain about every 5 years or so, considering I think about it each of the several hundred times a year it comes up, while every other time I just shrug, laugh it off, or say something like, I am from the Northeast to mask the insecurity. Story 97. I am skinny and tired of hearing comments about my appearance. It is especially difficult for me around women in public. Story 98. I have a supervisor who did this and claimed she was protecting her tattoos from the sun. But it was around the same time that she had gotten noticeably chubby during the COVID-19 pandemic, which she said was because she couldn't go out dancing anymore. Then she lost the weight and came out with a much larger bust. I'm pretty sure she gained weight to hide that she had a breast augmentation and then wore a hoodie all summer to conceal the fact that her breasts were suddenly much larger. After being an AB cup for the 2 years I had known her, she was suddenly an E cup or larger. She also had 2 weeks of vacation time and got COVID-19 after her vacation. When we had to quarantine for 2 weeks, she was off for about a month, right around the time her bust went from small to very large. I'm completely certain that it was all a plan to prevent people from noticing that she had undergone breast augmentation surgery. I noticed immediately and put it all together quickly. Interestingly, about a dozen people asked me if she had a breast augmentation, as though I had some secret knowledge about her breasts. We were not friends at that point, but I think people thought we were talking behind the scenes. Story 99-1. I am a lizard at heart. I bask in the heat. I belong in the swamps of Louisiana. It is a vibe because who even does that? Me. I do. Fear me. I am notoriously bad at regulating my body temperature, so despite liking the heat, I often forget that I am hot or do not notice until I see or feel that I am sweaty or something related. Crippling dysphoria. The chest is a no-go many days, and I cannot stand acknowledging it. Story 100. I was underweight and would get chilly easily. I live by the coast, so it was often windy. I also did not want anyone to see the bones that stuck out on my elbow and wrists. People always pointed out how skinny I was or how tiny my arms were. Story 101. I train a lot of kickboxing in a very hot gym. I wear a hoodie and sweatpants often when I train, so I hardly notice the heat. Additionally, I have lost a lot of weight since the coronavirus disease started, so it is also a confidence issue. Story 102. I used to hide it from others when I was actively self-harming. I am now 348 days clean from self-harming and have not worn a hoodie this summer. Story 103. That's one of the signs I use to tell whether I am in a bad neighborhood. The others are, in no particular order, chain link fences, pink houses, and lawn furniture in the front yard. Story 104. I used to do it to hide my tattoos from my parents. I finally had enough on a family trip to Thailand when it was 90 degrees. My mother cried. Story 105. It is easier to get errands done while protecting myself. I do not want to go out in the first place. Wearing the hoodies makes it more comfortable for me to do so. Story 106. I just like the way it feels. Normally, whether I am working or going to class, it is always freezing inside, and a hoodie just feels better than a jacket to me. I do live in southern Florida, so I am in the heat. Story 107. I see people all the time walking down the sidewalks or riding bikes in pants and hoodies with the hood up in 100 degrees. Nasty, humid Georgia heat, and it baffles me. Most of the time, it is normal, skinny men. Story 108. I joke about being a lizard person often because I enjoy being warm and slightly humid so much that I wear long sleeves year-round. But in reality, I just don't have much body fat to keep me warm. Story 109. I have noticed that this is a strange trend among younger people. They are doing it because of fashion, which I do not really understand. However, I am no longer young. Story 110. I wear hoodies designed for sun protection and sweat wicking. They are very comfortable in 90 degrees heat and 90% humidity. I much prefer a sun hoodie to the chemicals, smell, and feel of most sunscreens. Story 111. When I was a child and teenager, I did not like the way my body looked. I was basically anorexic. The benefit of this, at least, was that I literally never got hot. I could wear a black hoodie in 100-degree weather and I would just be warm. 15 years later, I definitely cannot do the same because I overheat much faster. Story 112. The sun. I burn. I don't tan. It actually hurts to be in the sun, like prickling pins. I use as much lightweight clothing as I can and cover all exposed skin with heavy mineral sunscreen. Or I go out at night when the sun is safely behind the planet. Story 113. Because once I go inside, every place is blasting their air conditioning and then I am cold. I would rather be hot for the walk inside the building than be cold the entire time inside. Story 114. My son has been doing this for years. He says at least he is not getting sunburned. He is not overweight, so whatever. He is in the military now and still does it. Story 115, because it is cold inside. Not enough time is spent outside to feel the heat. Still in defrost mode after you step outside. Story 116. I notice this with younger people walking around in my city. It is like 92 to 85% humidity, and the concrete amplifies it. More power to them, I guess, because I think I would have a heat stroke. Story 117. Same reason people wear shorts in the winter. Because it is their life and they can live it however they want. Story 118. I live in Hawaii, and generally, the people I see wearing hoodies in the blazing mid-afternoon are either individuals who just came out of an air-conditioned building or vehicle, as some people love their air conditioning, or someone who will probably steal or vandalize something today. Story 119. Embarrassed of an old tattoo on the back of my arm. Will be fully suns out, guns out once I cover that up. Story 120. I have sensitive skin and live in California. I cannot stand more than 30, sometimes 45 seconds with my skin exposed. I do not get burned, but it feels like I did for a couple of hours. I either wear long-sleeve shirts or a thin hoodie that I have for daily wear on my hour-long walk. Story 121. Because I live where it is hot, and 90 degrees is not that hot here. Also, I work in an office and it is very air-conditioned, so I freeze otherwise. Story 122. When I was very skinny, the heat did not outweigh my insecurity. If my overweight body experienced that now, I would pass out. Story 123. I can't seem to find anyone saying, because emotional support hoodie. That's honestly what it is for me. I don't know. I'm 35 and have always viewed hoodies as a millennial childhood staple. For some reason, it just makes me feel slightly more comfortable in whatever social setting I'm in. Sometimes I remember I'm 35 and can't be the angsty teenager with their hoodie up avoiding eye contact. Then I remember I don't care and do it anyway. Story 124. For sunscreen, red-haired. I hate going into air-conditioned places if I have been sweating. It is freezing as a thinner person. A hoodie acts as an equalizer. Story 125. The office where I work is kept cold, and it is usually not worth it for me to take my jacket off just to walk to my car, the store, or anywhere else. Story 126. Not me, but body insecurity, tattoos, cut marks, actually cold because the body cannot regulate temperature. Why do you care? Story 127. I have anxiety. The train cars are always cold. I have lupus, and my medication makes me sensitive to the sun. There are many reasons. Story 128. The 3 reasons I have personally felt, seen, heard, or experienced are 1. Body confidence issues. 2. Fashion. 3. Concealing a piece. Story 129. I am currently wearing 3 layers. An orange hoodie over a pink plaid shirt, and full body lingerie, because the temperature has been deceptive and it has been very windy and rainy. Story 130. People in hot places like desert areas always cover their heads, but not with padded hoods. I heard the sweat helps them stay cooler. Story 131. I hate how my body looks, both because I am a non-transition transgender person and because of the way the fat on my body is distributed. I feel gross no matter how I look at myself, but a hoodie or even a jacket makes me feel better, even if it feels uncomfortable. Story 132. I own super thin hoodies that I wear in the summer, but only in the evenings because mosquitoes think I am the best tasting meal on earth. Story 133. Just yesterday in St. Petersburg, Florida, I did my bike ride at midday to avoid the heat. I was at the rally on 4th Street waiting for the light, and a kid was there wearing a black zip-up hoodie and black sweatpants all the way down. I asked him, "How do you do it, man?" He replied, "I've been walking 8 miles. I haven't had a problem yet." I said, "Man, you're cold-blooded. You have the blood of a bird." I was completely soaking wet and drenched. Story 134. If I am doing physical activity and I sit down, a hoodie in 90-degree weather keeps my back loose when the activity resumes. Story 135. First, my parents taught me to hate my body, and then other gay men taught me to hate it more. It is brutal out here, everyone, and I am not even that terribly overweight. Story 136. Prefer that to the guy in a tank top in 20-degree Fahrenheit weather because he has tribal tattoos everyone must see. Story 137. I used to live in South Texas, where it is generally 90 degrees all year round with 100% humidity. Mosquitoes and avoiding getting tanned or sunburned were usually the reasons. It is the same reason people in landscaping wear long-sleeve shirts. Some of us do it with hoodies or zip-up jackets. Story 138. I really dislike feeling the sun on my skin. With summers becoming hotter, I am working on stopping that habit. Story 139. I am overweight and I am not comfortable wearing standard shirts all the time. For me, it is a matter of comfort, not shame. Story 140. Mostly because of my insecurity and partly because I am going to work and do not like walking around in my work uniform when I am not working. Story 141. I used to do it as a teenager in the Las Vegas heat, which can reach up to 120 degrees. I was insecure about my body. I thought it was because I was overweight, but it turned out to be because I am transgender. I am in my 30s now, far into transition, and I basically only wear shorts and tank tops. I am still overweight and would like to lose weight again, but at least I no longer have breasts or an hourglass figure, so I feel much more confident showing off my body. I love when all my tattoos are visible. Story 142. I used to be overweight and tried to hide in hoodies. Now I am not overweight, but I still wear hoodies out of habit. It is like my consciousness knows that I am no longer overweight, but my subconscious has not accepted it yet. Story 143. I think it is a comfort thing. My nephew did this from age 3 to 6, hood up and all. It is like he felt. Story 144. There are a number of reasons for wearing hoodies. Some of the more common ones are body insecurity. Hoodies generally hide your shape and can make people feel more secure about their appearance. Comfort. I own a lot of hoodies. They are always the most comfortable articles of clothing, especially when you find one that is not too light but not too heavy. Covering skin. I have very fair skin and live in a hot place. It is not uncommon for me to get sunburned when it is overcast outside. Having sleeves to cover my arms and extra material for the hood bunched on my neck protects me from this issue. Why not just use sunblock? Many people, including myself, do not like applying chemicals to their skin. Your skin can absorb these chemicals into your body, and you also have to worry about reapplication. Insects. Depending on where you are, different insects can be a problem. During the summer here, wasps are abundant, and sometimes I accidentally annoy one. My hoodie has insulated me from stings on multiple occasions over the years. Mosquitoes can be especially bad where I live. While a hoodie is not a 100% barrier against them, it has helped prevent more bites than I would otherwise have. Cooling. This is probably a little counterintuitive, but I know people who wear hoodies to make themselves sweat. Sweat collects on the fabric of the arms, becomes moist, and provides some cooling. While this effect is usually better achieved with a thin layer, like under armor sleeve shirts, it can work for short periods of time. These are the more common reasons I can think of for wearing hoodies in the heat. Not everyone will agree with all the reasons, but that does not mean others do not do it for those reasons. Story 145. If I ever do this, it's because my house or work has air conditioning and I forget that I am wearing a sweater once I go outside. Then I feel when people see me, they think I am one of the craziest you are asking about. Laugh out loud. Story 146. My partner hides the marks and scars on his arms from skin picking during various stages of healing. Story 147. Self-conscious of my lanky arms and being slim-shamed by my aunt over the years makes me want to cover up. Story 148. Honestly, there are times when the sun is so intense that hoodies help regulate body temperature and prevent sunburn. However, this is only effective under certain conditions, such as when there is a breeze. Story 149. I used to feel self-conscious because I have back acne and arm scars. My mother subtly bullied me about my skin as well. I do not care anymore since I am married with a child. Story 150. I leave for work at 5 in the morning. I can be in a freezer at any point during the day, and it has rained about 90% of the days here in New York in the last 2 months. If I do not wear it out of work, I will forget it. I learned that from experience. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.